Welcome to this week's episode of 5 Minutes of Management. I'm Frank Kalman, and coming out of the dark from last week's eclipse, we have Rick Bell. We have a great episode today. We're going to talk about St. Louis's interesting push to lower its minimum wage and some interesting stats about CEO activism. But first, Rick, you went to Oregon for the eclipse. Let's hear about your experience.
Oh man, it was 100% totality where I was at. And I do have to say, Frank, I was on PTO, so I wasn't one of those people, one of those slackers who was draining the economy of $700 million just because they wanted to go outside and stare at the sun. But yeah, it was really cool. It was an awesome experience.
Well, we have a lot of cool news today to talk about, Rick. The minimum wage in St. Louis fell by $2.30 an hour on Monday, making it a rare city to buck the national trend of municipal pay floors rising above federal and state levels. As the Wall Street Journal reported this week, this means that many of the city's workers will lose raises they received in May when the minimum wage increased to $10 an hour. A state law that took effect on Monday mandates that Missouri municipalities follow the state minimum wage of $7.70 an hour, effectively nullifying the higher wage St. Louis officials had sought since 2015. Some employers have decided to independently keep the higher wage, while others have told their employees their wages would be cut. Rick, what gives?
Way to go, St. Louis. Way to be on that cutting edge of employee activism. Yeah, Frank, it's just pretty depressing when you hear news like this. What good does it really do? I just have a feeling that your employees are going to be angry and bitter, and it does no good to actually try to raise the standard of living for these people. So, Frank, I just think it's a bogus idea.
Well, Rick, what do we got from you this week?
Interesting stats on CEO activism, Frank. According to research from Weber Shandwick, 47% of millennials believe CEOs have a responsibility to speak up about issues that are important to society. Only 28%, though, of Gen Xers and Boomers agree. The millennials also see this as a growing responsibility. Some 56% say CEOs have a greater responsibility today to take a stance on hot button issues than they used to. Here's my question to you, Frank. What if the millennials disagree with the boss's position? I mean, do they still want them to be an activist on, say, abortion or climate change? I mean, there's got to be some kind of push here.
Well, Rick, I think they should quit and only work for people that agree with them on everything, right? That's the lesson to learn here. No, of course not. I think, we've talked time and time again about the importance of different points of view. I think this is a great teaching moment for not just millennials, but all employees that, hey, people are going to have different views politically, socially, and this is an opportunity for you to sort of maybe just think about their perspective and not necessarily challenge them, but just like let that be. And I think it's part of the world we live in. Everyone's going to have different perspectives. And if your CEO or boss happens to have a view and is active about it in a different way than you maybe agree with, I think you need to learn to work through that and just live with it. It's part of life.
I mean, good for them that they want their bosses to be active and that they also want to be active in their organization as well. But Frank, there's going to be differing opinions here. I mean, not everybody is going to agree on whatever position the boss is taking.
That's all the time we have for this week's episode of 5 Minutes of Management. For Rick Bell, I'm Frank Kalman. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Workforce News. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And of course, for everything workforce, you can visit workforce.com. See you next time.